So many of our songs are like percussion heavy. You know, they do have layered percussion a lot of times when Doomtree producers make them. And so then the first time hearing Dustin play when we're working on guitar, my ears don't always know what song this is until he tells me the name of it. And I'm like, cool, I'll just sing that one then, man. Awesome.
Basically, I just start with the bass line and try to fill in the counter melody, because usually we have drums and keyboards and effects and all kinds of other things happening. So I just try to take the simple format and make it as interesting as possible.
We start with the lead melody, and then I'll sort of sift through the recording to distill what's the most important harmonic companion to go with that. Once that is in place, I'll usually also try to listen for echoes or additional things, so that I'll start a line, but then I'll also like sing another background harmony and come back to where I was before. So I try to get as much as we can in.
Aby's got a voice that's really transsectional. You know, it goes really low and it goes really high. So it feels like even though there are only two voices going at any time, the listener, to my ear anyway, really gets an impression of like several of the harmony lines and how they run.
Usually it comes together pretty quickly. So today we just did The Lamb, and basically just took 7 minutes before we played it today and threw together that arrangement. Worked out pretty good.
You got away with words, you got away with murder. Now our roles reverse and your table's turning on.
My prime objective is usually trying to figure out how I can make my part sound more important than Dessa's part without Dessa noticing. Just under the radar. How much can I do?
Okay. And
while still having the focus.
Microphone off if I can. When you're singing, you can't talk. Whereas when you're playing guitar, you can be like, hey, can you hit a high note? Your mouth is busy, you know, when you're singing. So usually Aby and I will kind of indicate with our hands, like, I'm going to go down here. Are you good? Or you flip. I'm going to go high and you go low. So you sort of create a little submarine sign language to indicate direction.
Last night, old friend, big wedding, and I knew you'd be there too. Look at us, all grown up, collared shirts and high-heel shoes. You cross the room, just the decent thing to do.
Any lyric that sounds like it could be true usually is on my records. You know, so sometimes there's really obvious flights of fancies. You know, like, here's a talking crow. Well, that didn't really happen. But most of the stories that sound real are they hard to perform every night because that subject matter is tender? I would say no. I've heard other songwriters and other like poets talk about songwriting as therapy, and that's never been my process. You know, if I'm really hurting about something and really tore up, I'm not like, I should really write a song about this. For me, usually it feels like, even for the really tender subject matter, I have to have a handle on it to be able to render it artfully. I would say in the course of like my 10 years that I've been performing, there have been a handful of times where I felt, you know, tears well up, which is not that tough, you know? You don't look very street. So you tamp them down and you take a sip of whiskey and you continue. For me, the new record is different from some of the older stuff, and that probably in my 20s I would have been so preoccupied with the feeling of unrequited love or with bad love that I would have only been able to write about that feeling to that person. And for this record, I think lyrically I tried to pull the lens back a little bit, so it isn't just like, I love you, or I'm in so much pain, or I'm bummed. It was more like, well, what is my relationship to this relationship? I think to me, any story is always more powerful if a listener can say, did this really happen? And the storyteller can say, yeah, it did. Truth is really, I would say, one of the most important parts of music to me as a listener and as a writer of it. I think like the reed in me is set to really vibrate when it detects authenticity in a performance, you know, truth in lyrics. Those are the things that I really like more than just flights into fiction or putting on big personas, although occasionally those shows will do it. But for me, I like truth.